1947, Elias Grayson, a reclusive toymaker in New Orleans, Louisiana, lived a solitary life. His creations, delicate dolls and intricate wooden toys, were famous for their lifelike precision. But Elias carried a dark secret, his obsession with the occult. Driven by grief over his wife's death, he sought to channel her spirit into one of his dolls. One fateful evening under a full moon, Elias performed a forbidden ritual. He chanted incantations in a dead language, carving symbols into the porcelain of a newly finished doll. Her name, Annabelle, was etched into the base of her foot. As the ritual concluded, a bone-chilling wind swept through the workshop, extinguishing every light. Elias collapsed, his final breath a strangled gasp. The next morning, neighbors found his workshop engulfed in flames. His body was never recovered, but Annabelle was untouched, sitting upright amid the ash and ruin. Her black, glassy eyes seemed to follow onlookers, her painted smile a mockery of innocence. Over the next 2 decades, Annabelle changed hands several times. Each owner suffered tragedy. In 1955, a widowed schoolteacher in Memphis, Tennessee, found her on her doorstep. She thought the doll was a gift from a former student. Within weeks, her house was plagued with strange occurrences, books flying off shelves, windows slamming shut. One night, the teacher fell down her staircase, her neck snapping instantly. Annabelle was found sitting at the top of the stairs, her head tilted, her cracked lips parted as if mid-laugh. Annabelle resurfaced in a thrift shop in Atlanta, Georgia, in 1961. The store owner mysteriously vanished, leaving behind only a pool of blood and broken glass. Police officers reported feeling an oppressive dread near the doll, one officer swearing he saw her eyes move. In 1963, Annabelle ended up in the hands of Daniel and Clara Edwards in Charleston, South Carolina. The couple, expecting their first child, bought the doll at a local flea market. Clara was drawn to its antique charm, unaware of the darkness it carried. From the moment Annabelle entered their home, Clara began experiencing vivid nightmares. She dreamt of a woman in black with hollow eyes, standing over her, whispering, "She's mine now." Daniel dismissed her fears, but soon both began hearing faint giggles coming from the nursery. One night, Clara awoke to the sound of the baby's mobile spinning wildly. When she entered the nursery, she found Annabelle sitting inside the crib, despite being locked away in a cabinet earlier that evening. Scratches appeared on the walls, spelling out cryptic phrases like, "Stay with me and I'll never leave." Weeks after their daughter Lily was born, tragedy struck. Daniel found Lily cold and lifeless in her crib. The coroner ruled it sudden infant death syndrome, but Clara knew otherwise. She'd seen Annabelle moving on her own. That night, Clara threw the doll into the trash bin outside, but by morning, Annabelle was back in the nursery, her smile wider, her eyes more piercing. Clara's grief turned to madness. She claimed to hear Lily's cries coming from the doll. Daniel, desperate to help his wife, contacted a priest to bless their home. However, the priest refused to enter, calling the house a portal to darkness. Daniel and Clara reached out to Dr. Samuel Price, a renowned paranormal investigator, and his assistant, Evelyn Graves. The pair arrived with an array of equipment and immediately sensed the house was alive with a malevolent presence. As Samuel approached Annabelle, his EMF meter spiked violently, emitting a high-pitched whine. Cameras caught brief glimpses of shadowy figures lurking behind the doll. Evelyn, who claimed to have psychic abilities, refused to touch Annabelle, saying, "It's not a doll, it's a cage for something evil." That night, chaos erupted. Evelyn was dragged across the floor by unseen hands, her screams echoing through the house. Doors slammed shut, trapping the investigators inside. The doll appeared to move on its own, shifting positions between blinks. Samuel uncovered Annabelle's origins through old records, tracing her back to Elias Grayson and his ill-fated ritual. He discovered that the land beneath Grayson's workshop had been a site of blood sacrifices in the late 1800s. The doll wasn't just haunted, it was a conduit, a vessel for a demonic entity tied to those ancient rites. Desperate to stop the chaos, Samuel attempted an exorcism. As he chanted prayers, the air grew thick with the stench of sulfur. Annabelle's eyes glowed red, and a deafening, guttural voice bellowed, "You cannot take her from me." Samuel collapsed, blood trickling from his nose. Clara disappeared shortly after the failed exorcism. Daniel, consumed by guilt, fled the house. He buried Annabelle deep in the woods, beneath a cursed oak tree. But when he returned home, she was waiting for him on the mantel, her dress streaked with mud. That night, his neighbors heard his screams. By morning, Daniel was gone, and Annabelle sat on the porch, her lifeless eyes gleaming. By the early 1970s, Annabelle's legend had reached Ed and Lorraine Warren, famed demonologists. The Warrens retrieved the doll and locked it in their occult museum in Monroe, Connecticut, sealing it in a sacred glass case. Lorraine warned visitors never to touch the case, claiming the doll's energy was still active. Over the years, museum visitors reported strange occurrences. One man taunted Annabelle, tapping on the glass and laughing. Hours later, he died in a motorcycle crash. Lorraine believed the doll was growing stronger, feeding on fear and attention. In 2022, the museum was burglarized. Security footage showed a hooded figure breaking Annabelle's case, only for the screen to cut to static. Police arrived to find the case shattered and the doll gone. Since then, reports of a porcelain doll with glowing eyes have surfaced across the USA. Families claim to hear her giggles in the night. Others wake to find claw-like scratches on their walls. Paranormal experts believe Annabelle has returned to her original purpose, spreading chaos and terror. Annabelle's story is a chilling reminder that some objects are too dangerous to exist. Her curse continues to haunt those who encounter her, a relentless force of darkness. Legends say she whispers to her victims in their dreams, drawing them into her eternal grasp. No one knows where Annabelle will appear next, but one thing is certain: her evil cannot be contained. Evil never rests. Evil never dies.